Network, where we interview every job occupation A through Z, from the trash man to the CEO, and ask them why and how they started doing what they're doing so that you can find your dream job too. I'm your host, Kojo Thompson, and today we're with Miss Kristen. And please, can I get the last name right, please? Can you pronounce it
I'm
for me?
Kristin Hinman. Thanks, Kojo.
Kristin Hinman. And Kristin Hinman, you are a...
I am the founder of a digital marketing agency, and I have a background in doing PR and publicity. So we do everything from online advertising and marketing, and I actually help now to also mentor emerging entrepreneurs who want to use their story to get new opportunities and new clients and whatever it is.
Yo, super cool, super cool. So this job wasn't here 20 years ago. I don't think so. So I think that's why a lot of our viewers really want to, definitely tune into this one and see what it's all about. All right, Miss Kristen. So how long have you been a digital marketer?
Yeah, I started my agency about 3 years ago. I had my first daughter. She was about 1 year old. And like I said, I had been doing publicity or PR. And a lot of my clients were interviewed by people like Barbara Walters and Anderson Cooper and Dr. Oz. And what I started to realize, a couple things, is that the industry was really changing, obviously. It was going online.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to video. It was going to online traffic. And not to say that it's totally there 100%, but like it really was shifting that way. And then the other thing I realized is that when you get that type of exposure, when you're on a show like the Today Show
Mm-hmm.
or Good Morning America, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I've made it. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
I've made it. Like, been on Oprah, whatever it is. And obviously those things are like the holy grail in terms of media, right?
Of course.
But what I would see with my clients who are on these shows is like, that was actually like they thought that was the end, but really it was the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So now how I work with them is when you get exposure, whether it's through social media, if it's through podcast or publicity, whatever it is, maybe it's referrals or word of mouth, even that's PR. How are you then going to take that curiosity that, oh, now I know about you, I was referred by you. How are you going to convert that in an online space so that you can get more customers and more clients? And so whether you have like a multi-level marketing business or you do have an actual service-based business, like let's say you're a plumber or an HVAC technician or you're a doctor, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
how are you now going to continue that conversation with people? And being in the digital space and online is a really powerful way to connect with them, to create new clients, to create new opportunities. And so you're totally right. It's not something that existed 20 years ago.
No
It's
doubt.
something that, yeah, you can totally create it for yourself. You just have to have, you have to have the vision, I think, and the drive and, just believing that there's a different way to do things, that you can actually attract people to you instead of like kind of pushing your message onto them.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I'll use the example, like, let's say you go on a first date. You're not going to say, hey, do you want to marry me? Which I think is sometimes, the problem with most digital marketers is it's like, buy my thing, buy my product, buy this. But really, you have to think about how are you going to warm people up based on, what is this a problem that they need?
Mm-hmm.
Do they need more information first before they make a decision? So all of those things that, can translate from the real world into the online world. And I think that's what makes it so fun.
Wow. So that's crazy. You gave us a lot in that small introduction of yourself. So a lot to dissect there, but let me go ahead and ask this, Kristen. Let me ask a more specific question. So there are a lot of jobs. I right now, we're a high school student. I went to my high school counselor, career advisor, and I said, hey, I don't really know what I want to do after high school, but I'm just up for anything. They'll most likely give me like a trendy job, like, computer jobs are building or growing, blah, 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 down the years from now. You're probably going to have a guaranteed job from now. What is it? Is it kind of like the same for you? Is it, do you feel like it's like a trendy job to have that digital marketing thing? Or is it like, what do you have to bring to the table? What do you have to first understand in order to even like get into digital marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kojo. And I think if you are in high school, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to give you like those aptitude tests, and it's like, oh, you're going to be, an engineer or whatever it is. I think with digital marketing, there's so much opportunity, and I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, do you think the internet's going anywhere?
No.
It's not going anywhere. I think the tricky part comes in determining where your best skill sets lies. And I'm going to say this too, is that everyone has a unique story. Whether you're in high school, whether you're a mom like me, whether you are in a corporate job, whatever it is, everyone has a unique set of experiences, things they've overcome. And those are actually, even though sometimes I know it's difficult going through it, or it was a difficult situation, that actually makes you unique. And so even if you're in high school, like if you can think about what really lights you up, what do I love to do? How do I help people right now in my everyday life? And like start researching. I mean, we have Google at our fingertips. Are other people doing it? What does it look like? What do their jobs look like? I think that's a great place to start. And it could be anything. I mean, it could be something as simple even as like, I'll teach you how to spray paint, like spray paint art. Like that's a totally random, probably career, but it's something that's definitely feasible with the internet. If you're into analytics and sales and marketing, there's a ton of opportunity online. Even if you're in a more traditional role, like let's say I work with a lot of clients who are therapists or doctors or things where traditionally you've always had to come to people or go to an office. There's so many avenues that you can take this online and actually start scaling your time, which just means you don't have to spend as much time to make more money. So everyone sees on like Instagram or Facebook that dream entrepreneur lifestyle. And, it is possible. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes diligence. It takes being real and authentic about you and your story and how you can actually help people. But it's possible for people. If that's what you want, you can build that. You can, with the internet and with the digital space, you can really create the job and the life that you want.
Okay, so how did it come about specifically for you? Because again, there are a lot of people out there and they maybe want to draw some inspiration and okay, maybe this memory that I had, will lead to this. So how did it happen for you? What did it all come to? And when did you wake up one day and just realize that, this was something that I could possibly do or, something I want to do for the rest of my life?
Sure. I think one, in terms of the rest of my life, my business looks significantly different now than it did 3 years ago. And so it's always a process where you put things out into the world, you get feedback and you get a little better. So it's always a changing and evolving process. And so, I could wake up 10 years from now and be doing something totally different. But I think at the core, what I love to do is to help people and to guide them and to like show them the mistakes that I made. And so for me specifically, when my daughter was about 1 year old, I had been a partner in a Peare firm in Los Angeles for about 7 years. And I wanted to get back to be closer to my family. I wanted more outdoor time. I wanted a lot of things that I wasn't getting where I currently was. And honestly, I kind of made the leap overnight. Like, we packed up the family and we moved to a small town up the coast, where my in-laws live. Wow. And it forced me it kind of threw me in there. For some people, that's not the best way, obviously. I know a lot of people are methodical. And, I would encourage both. It just kind of depends on knowing your own personality type and your motivation. Obviously, with my kids, I was very motivated to try to make this work. So I really was left to, okay, who's doing this well? What can I learn from them? Who can I get to guide me? Working with a mentor has been a huge, huge growth factor for me in my business because what happens is it allowed me to see what was possible. It allowed me to ask questions of someone who'd been there, who has already built what I've built, who's reached the goals I want to be, or where I want to be, because you need to remember that you're always farther along than someone. Someone's always behind you that you can always pull up with you, that you can always help. And so working with a mentor has been, instrumental in my growth. It sounds kind of crazy, but in 6 months of working with a mentor, my business actually grew by over 500%.
Wow.
Which sorry, not over, but almost 500%. And I did the math. I like literally sat down and crunched the numbers, and it sounds ridiculous, but that's the power of working with someone who's been there, who can guide you.
Wow. Okay. So a lot to take apart there. So let's dive right into a little bit more mentorship questions for myself included, because I do want to get some tips here, because I hear a lot about mentorship, this and that, or, I hear a lot of success stories with mentorships involved. But one, just doesn't know, how do you even like get a mentor, or how does it even like come about that a mentor comes across you and says, you have a lot of potential or something like that. So how did it all work out for you, mentorship wise?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me personally, I was in a training group. I was learning a lot at the time, like I said, about digital marketing. How does video work? How does Google Ads work? How does this tie into PR? And so, I learned a lot in a short amount of time, because again, with the internet, there's so much information out there, things that I never would have learned in school or learned from someone who's not doing this day in and day out. And I was listening to a training session, and something about the speaker who had been invited into our training session just really resonated with me. He said, I've built my business over the last 7 years. Here's all the mistakes I wish someone had pointed out to me. If someone could pay me if someone said, hey, pay me right now so that you can save another 7 years of your life, I would do it in a heartbeat. Because what happens is a mentor, especially someone who's been where you want to go, or who is where you want to go, has already made several mistakes. You're not to say you won't make mistakes, or you might fail at some things, but you can significantly avoid that, and you know what works for them. You can tweak it to your business, and you can get support for where you want to go, what your goals are, as you get, and it works whether you start your own company or if you want to get a job. If there's a field you really want to work in, a mentor is probably a great place to start, because they know the ins and outs. They're probably connected in the community. There's a lot of benefits that can come from working with a mentor. I'm a strong believer in it. I have a coach. I have a mentor. I still work with them, and I probably always will, because it continues to push me. It continues to get me thinking in a different direction. And it's really, like I said earlier, it's been instrumental for the growth of my agency.
Wow. Okay. So, and let me point out something real quick. You want to keep in mind the third rule, to all my viewers out there listening. So spend a third of your time, mentoring. So reaching out to those people who are under you and trying to bring them up. Spend a third of your time with peers. So the people, your friends, close people around you who are pretty much at the same level. Spend a third of your time, being mentored by somebody else greater. So, just keep that rule in mind. Rule of thumb for life. So let me go ahead and ask you this. For digital marketing, what is an average day like for you?
That is a fantastic question. My day, when I first started the agency, it was doing everything myself, working late at night, working after my kids went to sleep. To be honest, after I had my second daughter, I was nursing her or feeding her or up with her late at night, and I was watching training videos or I was listening to podcasts. So that type of lifestyle for me, it was unsustainable. And I quickly realized that, again, when I brought on a mentor and saw how other people were doing it, again, it showed me what was possible. So I'm very intentional now about how I create my weeks, which is awesome, because I get to create what I want my work week to look like. And so a couple ways I do that is I'm really intentional about when I meet with my team so that we can continue to move projects forward. I'm really intentional about the time I spend cultivating relationships, like you were saying, connect with your peers, people ahead of you and behind you. And I just make sure, now that I've kind of done it for a while, I know kind of how long things take. So I'm able to put that in my calendar. I'm very conscious about taking days to rest, actually scheduling in workouts. So like, for instance, today, I had the morning I was actually at a coffee shop. I'm in a Toastmasters group, which if you guys haven't checked out Toastmasters, it's an amazing organization. So I went to Toastmasters and I came home, I had lunch, and now I'm here talking to you. And after this, I'm going to the gym. So I have time in my day because I'm very conscious about, again, like what do I realistically have time to do? I don't check my email first thing in the morning. I try to save all of my creative work for mornings. So my creative work is usually things like writing or videos or social media posts, because when I can create valuable content that other people want, that again attracts more people to me. So all of that stuff is I know that that's where my energy is best spent. So I try to do that stuff in the morning. Usually the afternoons are more for like family time, going to the gym, getting dinner ready, whatever it is. And yes, there are still times when sometimes I need to work late at night or on a weekend, but it's very few and far between. And I'm just, I'm able to now really evaluate if that does happen. Okay, where do I need to cut back? How can I simplify things so that it actually gets bigger and better? And that's the name of the game, keeping it simple and effective for your lifestyle.
Amazing. And again, I'm hearing like a lot of mentorship talk right now. I mean, this is just absolutely great advice. Absolutely great advice. So this is mentorship. If you guys don't have a mentor out there, you're getting great tips right here, right now of, what to do. So, being self-employed has obviously a lot of perks. Of course, the biggest one being that you are in control of your own schedule. It's just the fact that you need to understand time, how to use your time and put it towards the right things throughout your day, the things that you want and find most important. Now, let me go ahead and ask you this, Kristen. What do you enjoy the least about being a digital marketer?
Oh, that is a good question, Kojo.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What do I enjoy the least? I realized early on that there just are tasks that are just not in my wheelhouse. They're just not sort of my superpower. It's not really where I shine. And oftentimes, sometimes it's things like organization. Sometimes it's things like writing, like bigger projects, more book style projects, or even, for instance, we do video work, but I'm not the one holding the camera. So we do the editing and the production and the creation of it. But some of those other tasks that I know that there are people out there that love it. Like they love being the videographer. They love doing the creative stuff or the design work or whatever it is. I've really learned that my strengths are talking to people. My strengths are building my team. My strengths are creating content that creates change, that creates movement, because I'm living it every day. And only I can do that. And there's things like even managing my own calendar. Sometimes I have to rely on people on my team to help me. And things like that used to just bog me down, honestly. Like anything that required too much organization or too much time or like too much technical details, just not my wheelhouse. But that's really made me a stronger entrepreneur and business owner, is learning, like identifying who can help me with that. Where can they support me? How can I make it easy for them so that they have a system and a process to follow, so it's not sort of like willy-nilly, like, hey, go do this, and they have no instruction. But I would say that because I've done every job in my business, I appreciate it now so much more that I don't have to do it, and I know what goes into it. So I think that's kind of how I learned what I didn't like.
Okay. So, ooh, man, let me just start off by saying the part where you were talking about, you understanding yourself first. So a lot of people don't understand that you have to, I say, before you get a degree in college, get a degree in yourself. Like you told me that you knew that you were good at talking. You knew that you were good at, making the creative content. You knew you were good at, being in front of the camera, but not behind it. So understanding yourself, understanding your skill set before you go out and set out and say, hey, I'm going to go and do this. First, you know who you are and what you're good at and what you bring to the table. That's the most important before you go out and say, okay, I'm going to go be a doctor or a lawyer, because that doesn't really matter if you don't really know what's going on within. Now, Kristen, what do you enjoy the most about being a digital marketer?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I love to work with people. And especially, I think, because I've benefited so much from the right mentorship and the right relationships, I love to see that connection come from people like, oh my gosh, yes, we could do that. Hey, this is working. I love seeing those breakthroughs. And it happens both in when we market, let's say, a local business, and when I mentor entrepreneurs, because there's breakthroughs to be had in both sectors. And at the end of the day, it's about relationships. In digital marketing, I think this is what most people miss, most marketing and advertising companies miss, is that it's about relationships. We have social media for a reason. It's social. It's meant to be social. It's meant to create conversation. And I think the more that you can remember that, that's what really lights me up. Obviously, I'm kind of going off here.
No,
but
hey,
even
no
when
problem.
even when I was in PR, I realized quickly that I loved cultivating those relationships with our clients where they could trust me and I could work with the press. And, there was a certain level of trust that came out of that. And for me, that's what it's about at the end of the day, because we're working with people, we're talking to people, we want to cultivate relationships. I think sometimes we're stuck behind a screen or a phone too much. And the more we can get people talking and get people out of that and really, really, truly help people, that's the type of impact I'd love to make.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, let me ask you this, because a lot of digital marketers, I don't even know the process of being a digital marketer. You said you did a lot of training. You said you did a lot of this and a lot of that. What I want to know is, do you think that grades mattered in school for the success in your career right now?
No, 1,000% no. But, it's not a bad thing to get good grades. But everything I've learned to this point, none of it I learned in school. Zero. Wow. Everything I learned in PR, everything I've learned in starting my own business. It's a matter of figuring out what your end goal is. Okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want it to look like for me? How many hours a week do I work? All of that then should translate back into, okay, this is what I'm really good at. Now, who can I help to fill in the gaps? Who can I find to help me? If it is building a website, for instance, and you're terrible at it, don't build it yourself. Find someone who can build it for you.
No doubt.
If you excel at websites, but you're not as good at taking the pictures, find someone to take the pictures for you. And those are really small examples, but the more you can get used to doing that, the more that you'll be successful. Whether you choose digital marketing or any career, you're always going to have strengths. You're always going to be better at something. You're always going to need other people to support you. And the more you can embrace that and really be open to that support, so that you lift each other up and not hold people back. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be key no matter what industry you go to, whether you're in high school or college or just starting out.
Okay. So, Kristen, we had an excellent interview, and we have some big themes here. But I think the biggest theme that we're taking away today is that, you have to first know yourself, your skill set, what you're good at, what you bring to the table, your personality, your everything, your drive, your passion. And once you know your strengths, then you must find your weaknesses, then build yourself a team around, so that you can build yourself up in your company. Even if it's not your company, maybe your job, whatever. But I feel like that's the main theme here. But let me go ahead and ask you, because we're wrapping this interview up. You're a digital marketer. A lot of people, I bet you had this question when you first decided, okay, I want to be a digital marketer. But what is one piece of advice that you could give the you who was sitting there on that couch, who wanted to be that digital marketer 3 years ago? What's that one piece of advice that you think that that person should hang on to?
Man, I think that this would change depending on the person. But for me personally, I wish that I had spent a little more time in planning. And I don't mean spending a lot of time in like business plans or like, oh, I'm going to do this and everything's going to be perfect. I mean more like I want to plan where the best source of my income is. Where can I make the most money right away? And I need to focus on that. In fact, that's one of the biggest things my mentor taught me is, for me, I'm an ideas person. I say, oh my gosh, we should try this and this and this. I'm sure a lot of people listening can probably relate. It was hard for me to really focus in on what was important because I would get distracted by all these things. And so if I could go back, I would say, pick one thing. And yes, you might make mistakes. Yes, it might not be perfect, but you're not going to get pigeonholed into that. Once you can successfully create what's called an offer, something to sell that people want, that you can sell at a high ticket price that sustains, pays your bills and sustains your lifestyle, then you can earn the right to grow into other areas. So a good example might be, let's say someone was really into like working out, but they were also a financial broker, and they also love to cook. So what I see too many times is people focus on all three things, but so their message is so spread out. And this was exactly something I went through 3 years ago. And when you can really narrow in the example I just gave, for instance, someone in finances probably has more money than someone who's reading a food blog. So how can you really serve that audience? How can you really help them so that you can grow your business but get paid to do it? So you're not working for free. You're not discounting your services. You're creating value. And when you can create value, you're going to get paid what you're worth because there's an exchange of energy. There's a value exchange. And that's when you can then grow into other areas that interest you, or a new hobby, or whatever it is. I like to say you earn the right to grow into those other areas. Too many people, including myself, are too afraid to really say, I do this and I only do this. But a lot of times if you're just starting out, or you're building your career or building your business, you need to kind of find your lane and find what you're good at and really go all in on it, and then expand into other areas.
Beautiful, beautiful advice, and a beautiful way to end the interview. Kristen, I must, before I even let you go, I must you're just a book full of knowledge, and I want to have you as a resource to the viewers listening out there. So what's one piece of content, or even if you have a website or anything that people can check you out on, anything that I can leave down in the description or the show notes, so that people can, check you out and see what's really going on?
Sure. And I would suggest that the best place to find me and connect with me is going to be on Instagram, because I am very, like I said, consistent about making sure I provide valuable content for people. My goal is to educate them, to push them a little bit, to give them resources. And I post things daily along those lines because I really want to add more value, and more value than I take away. So Instagram is the best place to find me. It's Kristin_Hinman, which he'll pop in the show notes. And if you shoot me a DM, if anything I've said resonates with you, please reach out to me. Again, it's social media. I want to connect with you. I want to get to know you. Ask me questions. And if you'd like, I actually also have a free guide about what mentorship is exactly. So who is it a best fit for? What is it? What's the difference between a mentor and a mastermind? All of these questions that I get asked a lot is all in a guide. It's completely free. I made it as a resource so that people can get educated, especially if it's someone who's looking to transform their business and unlock new opportunities. This is a great resource to really start figuring out what it is you want out of a mentor, or maybe it is a mastermind you want, or a business coach. Whatever that is, it's a great starting place to start determining, where to start, what's right for you, what's going to be a fit. So I'll send you the link, but if you want that directly, please shoot me a DM and I'll send it right over to you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I think that's a wrap. Wait. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube, iTunes podcast, SoundCloud, and Google Play channels at WHY Network. And make sure to follow us on all social media platforms at WHY Network. That's Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all that. And if you or somebody loves their job and would like to inspire others too, make sure to email me at whyimpassionate@gmail.com. Again, whyimpassionate@gmail.com. Talk to you guys soon.